So I come to you on this frigid day to talk about the best car I've ever owned, my 2014 BMW 428i, and specifically I'm going to talk about my experiences and what it was like, the maintenance cost, what it was like to drive, what I recommend someone else buying one. I'm going to be going over all of that today. First and foremost, I think we need to just attack the fly on the wall, and that is maintenance. Whenever anybody buys a BMW, you're always wondering how much it's going to cost you to keep that thing running. And if you aren't wondering that, you should be. And so, with that, how much did it cost to keep the BMW 428i running? Well, maintenance cost over the course of 2 years wasn't really that bad because I had a good mechanic who warrantied the bad parts that BMW had in the cars. For example, we fixed an oil leak 3 times, 2 of which were under warranty, and thus that saved me $1,200 in repairs. Overall, we spent about 12 grand keeping the 4 Series running over the course of 2 years, and that does include tires and brakes and rotors. So in that alone, is probably a 3 grand chunk of that. So not too bad to keep it running, especially considering we drove it 80,000 miles. Now, once you consider all of that, $12,000 to keep the car running is not bad at all. $6,000 a year, 40,000 miles for $6,000 is a pretty good trade. And you might actually be near that even with some of your Toyotas. You wouldn't be, would you? I think I'm just delusional at this point. But anyway, that's kind of the maintenance cost, about $12,000 for 80,000 miles of driving. That's how I would look at that instead of across 2 years, because most people are gonna drive half that in 2 years. So with that, that's the maintenance cost. I wanted to get that out of the way up front because everybody wonders, how much does it cost to run? Well, there you go. And if that number, $12,000 for 80,000 miles, makes you like run away, well then guess what? Don't buy a 4 Series, it's that simple. However, if you want the best driving experience BMW, in my opinion, has to offer right now, the 4 Series can be one of the best places to do it. Specifically, the 428i was a very good option because you could push it to its limits. You could get it so close to the power limit that car had without dying, which is what's great. I think if you get something like an M5 or an M4 that's just got all of this power, you're never going to be able to reach that full potential, especially on a road like this. What you can is take it to the track, sure, but if you're just wanting a good experience on the road that you can take to the supermarket but also blast around some corners with, the 428i is a great option, and that's why I loved mine so much. While sure, it was a very slow car in comparison to your M5 or even the M4, it was still something you could push to its limit. You could drift it around corners very easily, even on a back road. You shouldn't be doing that, kids, but if you were, you can do it with the 428i. So overall, I'd rate the driving experience probably near a 10 out of 10 for the 428i. Best car I've ever driven. I've driven things like 7 Series, which are just boats, and S-Classes, and all of the big sedans. I've driven Range Rovers, and you might be like, what about sports cars? Well, we actually reviewed Porsche Boxster earlier in the year, and overall, I would say the experience in the Porsche was just a bit better than the 4 Series because you couldn't push the Porsche right to its limit. It still had so much more to give. It wanted more, but not with the 4 Series. The 4 Series was like, here's everything I've got and I'm laying it out on the line, and you felt like you were this close to sliding off the road, but you never did. The 4 Series overall has an incredible driving experience, and while I'm sure you're flaming me in the comments right now, go drive one for yourself, take it on some back roads, and tell me you aren't pushing that thing right to its limit and having a ton of fun. Moving on from there, let's talk about gas. People talk about gas all the time when they're talking about these cars, but what is the gas mileage on the 4 Series? Well, it's about 24 is what they say. However, you're pushing it to its limit. It's not afraid to do 18 miles per gallon. And if you're driving very gracefully, for example, on the interstate or on a highway, you can push it up to 28 even. We actually, on the way to Florida, hit 30 miles a gallon on a 1,200 mile road trip. Not too shabby. So if you're wanting a pretty fuel conservative sporty car, the 428i can actually fit that bill pretty well. I mean, obviously, you're still gonna have to get gas. And like I said, if you're driving it super sporty, 18 miles a gallon is not something it's going to be afraid to do. But if you want to take it on long road trips while still being able to drive it sporty, that average of about 24 is probably about right. Insurance cost is something that no one talks about because it kind of can be specific to your area, but I wanted to mention it here. On my 428i, I was paying $160 per month for full coverage insurance. Many of you were like, that's way too expensive, and I would honestly agree, and I shopped around and that was the cheapest I could find as a 21-year-old driving a BMW sports car. The thing is, I think if I was a little bit older, say I was 25, that insurance price would go down quite a bit. Also, if I wasn't to keep full coverage on it, it would go down quite a bit. So there you have it. Those are my experiences with the 428i. An overall incredible driving experience, an overall incredible car, and in my opinion, one of the best cars, actually the best car I've ever driven. With that, I would recommend you purchasing a 428i if you can, and go test drive one. That's all I'm saying here. Go test drive one, drive it on some back roads, get it a little sporty, scare the dealer you're driving with to death, and you'll absolutely love the experience. Nevertheless, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think about the 428i and what you think about BMWs in general. Let's just make that a thing down there. Sure. My name is Nick. This has been The Breakdown Automotive, and I'll see you next week. Peace.